Good evening from the State of Kuwait. Welcome to the 7 o'clock news for Thursday, the 2nd of April 2015. I am Dania Badran with the headlines for tonight. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah leaves the country heading to Germany on a private visit. Operation Resolve Storm enters its second week as Houthi rebels pull out of key positions in the Yemeni city of Aden. Gunmen attack several military checkpoints north of Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, killing 15 soldiers, with 15 other militants also killed. A suicide bomb targets a protest in Afghanistan's eastern province of Khost, killing 17 people and injuring at least 50 more. Hello and welcome. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah left Kuwait today for the Federal Republic of Germany on a private visit. His Highness was seen off at the airport by His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, His Excellency the National Assembly Speaker Marzuqa Ali Al Ghanem, His Highness Sheikh Nasser Al Muhammad Al Ahmed Al Sabah, His Excellency Minister of the Emiri Diwan Affairs Sheikh Nasser Sabah Al Ahmed Al Sabah, His Excellency the Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior Sheikh Muhammad Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah, and the Deputy Premier and Minister of Defense Sheikh Khalid Al Jarrah Al Sabah. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency President Mohammed Suhari on his election as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. His Highness expressed hope that the existing good relations between the two countries would witness greater development and strength. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mubarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable of congratulations. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah received a letter of congratulations from His Highness Sheikh Salim Al Ali Al Sabah, Chief of the National Guard, in which he expressed his deep congratulations on behalf of himself and the National Guard personnel on the success of the 3rd International Humanitarian Pledging Conference for Syria. His Highness also praised the great role played by His Highness the Emir, which was highly appreciated by all people. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a reply message to His Highness Sheikh Salim Al Ali Al Sabah, Chief of the National Guard, thanking him for his kind feelings on the success of the 3rd International Donors Conference for Syria, and highly valued the outcome of the conference as represented in the generous pledging, which will certainly contribute to the relief of the Syrian people. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior Sheikh Muhammad Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah received today the U.S. Ambassador to the State of Kuwait, His Excellency Douglas Selman, and a number of the American Embassy staff. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior hailed the strength of the existing relations of cooperation and friendship between the State of Kuwait and the United States of America. He also emphasized the importance of the joint cooperation in the security fields in light of the ongoing developments in the region. He added that those developments call for the exchange of views between the two sides. The U.S. Ambassador, for his underscored the importance of the role being played by the State of Kuwait for peace in the region. The meeting was attended by the Interior Undersecretary for Criminal Security Affairs, Major General Abdul Hamid Al-Awadi. The third pledging conference for the Syrian people proved to be a major success as it raised $8 billion for the crisis. The State of Kuwait donated $500 million for both government and non-governmental organizations. Ahead of the conference, NGOs held an event of their own for the Syrian humanitarian crisis, attended by local, regional, and international NGOs. Hiba Abdurrahman has more in this report.
Coinciding with the third International Humanitarian Pledging Conference for Syria, the International Islamic Charity Organization, or IICO, organized the third conference of non-governmental organizations donor to Syrian people. The conference was attended by many local, regional, and international charity organizations, with expectations exceed donations that were collected in the first and second conferences.
Well, of course, we are extremely pleased that the Emir, the government and the people of Kuwait continue to show such extraordinary generosity and commitment to the people of Syria. This year's third pledging conference is particularly important because 5 years into the conflict, we need to support Syrians inside Syria, refugees who have fled to neighboring countries, the host communities that are hosting them, and also the governments of the neighboring countries where their economies are coming under incredible strain. So we're very grateful to the Emir, the people and the government of Kuwait for their continued humanity and generosity. This conference is a contribution to raising the amount that we need for the entire year. We are here with the international Islamic organizations that every year have themselves made a tremendous commitment, both in terms of the work that they are doing inside Syria and in neighboring countries, and also in terms of the resources that they raise to help us to carry out their work. Our thanks to them, and also our thanks, of course, to the donors who I hope will pledge generously tomorrow, the governments that will be coming together under the auspices of the Emir and the UN Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon.
The conference discussed various aspects of the humanitarian disaster in Syria, as well as the situation of the refugee camps in neighboring countries and the activities of the aid agencies. Worth mentioning the fact that the donations of the first conference reached $183 million, while the spending expenses exceeded $190 million. And the donations of the second conference reached $276 million, while the spending also exceeded $348 million, which indicates the fact that NGOs are exerting their best efforts with the aim of easing the suffering of the Syrian people, especially with the crisis entering its 5th year.
Houthi rebels pulled out of positions in central Aden after Arab allied forces continued airstrikes on the city as Operation Resolve Storm entered its second week. Reports said Houthi units, along with allies, withdrew from their advances a day earlier, but they remain in other parts of the city as they are engaging in fights with popular committees. Meanwhile, supporters of Yemeni President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi arrived in Aden to participate with the popular committees against the Houthi rebels and supporters of former Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh. After liberating the Iraqi city of Tikrit, Iraqi forces are now looking to free other strongholds of the so-called Islamic State. From Baghdad, Walid al-Ta'i has more.
After the most critical victory against the so-called Islamic State in Tikrit, Iraqi forces are mobilizing toward the Ramadi province using different tactics and strategy. Same used in Tikrit. The strategy is to liberate the province with the using of the latest technology.
The factors of victory that the Iraqi army accomplished in Tikrit will be applied as rules to liberate other provinces such as Nineveh.
U.S. Reconnaissance Division full present by its drone systems and aerial squadron in Iraq, providing the Iraqi forces with data and satellite footages for better implementation of the operations with less casualties.
Because of the coalition that has organized together to face this common threat, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and strike aircraft, but they're not everywhere. And so as the priorities shift, we try to put them where they will do the most damage to Daesh.
The Iraqi strategy is to surround the so-called Islamic State in Ramadi with air support and special forces. Iraqi government is ready now to give the go-ahead for the operations.
That's what we have hoped for the Iraqi army and the rest armed forces in its different divisions and other branches of security forces, police, regarding also the aid presented to them.
The so-called IS 9 months dominance over Tikrit was marked by brutality, in addition to the reported massacre of 1,500 plus Air Force cadets at Camp Speicher in June. The so-called Islamic State is believed to have buried victims in mass graves and also have destroyed an Assyrian church that had graced Tikrit since the 8th century.
The tribes of Saladdin have realized that their participation in Tikrit will have a role in holding the ground and liberating the province.
The victory in Tikrit sets the stage for the Iraqi forces to take back an even bigger prize, Ramadi and Mosul, Iraq's second largest city, where 25,000 Iraqi troops plan to return to Mosul in April or May in an effort to retake the city. The decisive victory could not just be winning Tikrit battle, also Ramadi, then crossing over to Mosul, as these are the aspects of the Iraqi army for planning and strategy for better future experience and application of the next coming battle of Ramadi. Walid Al-Tai, Kuwait TV, Baghdad.
Thank you, Walid. Syrian military aircraft bombed the areas close to the Jordanian border today after insurgents captured the main border crossing between the two countries. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said helicopters dropped barrel bombs in the area overnight. Rebel groups fighting the Syrian regime said they had seized the Nasib crossing late on Wednesday in southern Syria. Al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front also said it seized the crossing, but rebels denied this allegation. Jordan closed its side of the crossing on Wednesday as it stepped up security and redeployed some troops on the borders. Gunmen armed with rocket-propelled grenades attacked several military checkpoints in Egypt's Sinai today, killing 15 soldiers and 2 civilians. Reports said another 15 militants were also killed during clashes. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack, but militants who support the so-called Islamic State have carried out similar operations in the Sinai Peninsula. The insurgency has spread to other parts of Egypt, though bombing attacks in cities and towns are usually far less dramatic. Major powers and Iran negotiated into the early hours of today on Tehran's nuclear program, 2 days past their deadline, with diplomats saying prospects for the preliminary agreement were finally balanced between success and collapse. The negotiations aimed at blocking Iran's capacity to build a nuclear bomb in exchange for lifting sanctions have struggled over crucial details of the accord, even as the broad outlines of an agreement have been reached. Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif said that the deal is yet to be struck, adding there is not yet a final result. Negotiators want to issue a joint statement outlining general political commitments to resolve concerns about Iran's nuclear program and the pace of lifting sanctions. They are also trying to put more detailed documents onto the steps they must take by June 30th to meet those goals. A suicide bomber today blew himself up in the middle of a demonstration against corruption in Afghanistan's eastern province of Khost, killing 17 people and injuring at least 50 more. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, and it was unclear whether the attack was linked to the insurgency led by the Afghan Taliban. One of the organizers for the ongoing protests was severely injured in the attack. Khost borders Pakistan and is one of Afghanistan's most volatile provinces. The United Nations says violence has escalated in Afghanistan as most foreign troops withdrew in 2014, and last year was the worst on record, with more than 10,000 civilian casualties. Gunmen from the militant group Al-Shabaab today killed at least 15 people and taken students hostages at a university in northeastern Kenya. Reports said 65 others were wounded when gunmen stormed the campus in Garissa. As troops are fighting the gunmen, more than 500 students were still unaccounted for, and the number of hostages is still unclear. Kenya's Interior Minister said journalists that one of the militants had been killed as he tried to flee. Kenyan officials said security forces have isolated the gunmen in a single building at the university. A Russian trawler sank in icy seas off Russia's far eastern Kamchatka Peninsula today, killing at least 56 of the 132 crew. 63 people were rescued, but 13 were still unaccounted for hours after the fishing vessels sank in the sea, as its captain, who drowned, did not manage to send a distress signal. 78 of those on board were Russians and 42 were from Myanmar. It was not immediately clear why the 26-year-old ship had sunk, but a local official said the crew may have violated safety rules by overloading it, affecting its balance. President Vladimir Putin ordered all necessary measures to help the survivors, some of whom were suffering from hypothermia. Organized by Pakistan Embassy in Kuwait, a reception was held at the Regency Kuwait in celebrations for the 75th Pakistan National Day. The chief guest of the occasion was the Minister of Information, Minister of State for Youth Affairs, His Excellency Sheikh Salman Al-Sabah, Al-Salim Al-Sabah, who congratulated the people of Pakistan on the occasion and reflected on the strong relations between Kuwait and Pakistan. Here is more on the occasion in this report by Salim Al-Kandari.
In celebration of Pakistan National Day, the Pakistani Embassy in Kuwait held a reception attended by Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs, His Excellency Sheikh Salman Al-Sabah, and President of Kuwait Society for the Ideal Family, Head of Al-Fatat Sporting Club, and Goodwill Ambassador for Charitable Works, Her Excellency Sheikh Farih Al-Ahmed Al-Sabah.
As you see, it's a very special day for Pakistan, and it's our national day. We celebrate it on 23rd of March every year, and it's a celebration all over the country and by Pakistanis all over the world. So this is in commemoration of the famous Lahore Resolution, which was adopted on 23rd March 1940 at the annual session of All India Muslim League at that time.
To begin with, I am really very happy to be here at this gathering of all diplomats and high-ranking officials and people from all over the sectors of the Kuwaiti society who are all happy to share in Pakistan's joy in its National Day. The Islamic Republic of Pakistan is a very important country for all of us in this part of the world.
The embassy, with the help of the local community, also set up stalls showcasing various Pakistani products.
We're here celebrating this National Day in Kuwait, and as a Pakistani national, I'm very happy to celebrate this event here. Yeah, and I'm exhibiting the goods from Pakistan, which is handicrafts, and I have some clothing, I have some leather goods. It's basically the mix of all the goods from Pakistan.
Kuwait and Pakistan hold strong mutual relations and cooperations on all fronts and fields. This is a happy moment tonight with the celebration of Pakistan's National Day. The embassy had hosted this celebration and various dignitaries, both local, regional and international, are present to celebrate this moment. From the Regency Hotel, this is Salim Kandiri reporting for the English News.
Thank you, Salim. At the end of this week's trading at Kuwait Stock Exchange, the main indices closed with losses. KSX 15 recorded 1,021.82 points with a gain of 1.7 points, and the weighted index closed at 424.81 points, gaining 0.12 points. The price index ended trading at 6,221.37 points, going down by 15.15 points. And finally tonight, Faculty of Social Sciences held in cooperation with the Al-Awqaf Public Foundation the 11th annual conference to address society health. The forum discussed violence and its relations with social health to seek society development and family stability. Nurhan Al-Alfi was there and brought this report.
Under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Yaqub Al-Sana, the Minister of Al-Awqaf and Islamic Affairs, the Faculty of Social Sciences and cooperation with Al-Awqaf Public Foundation holds the 11th annual conference under the title of Health and Society Contemporary Issues.
I saw, inshallah, very helpful things, 40 body and society and organization, governmental and public, who represent the audience, and also the very wise and spectrum in the concept of the conference. And in the hand of very good specials from Kuwait and Gulf countries and Arabic and foreign countries, in a very good integration actually to study seriously and thoroughly this phenomena and give the comments about it.
We even notice sometimes that some violent act like killing, which happened many times during, through places like the seafront or avenues and other areas, those as a direct result of violence inside the family, which reflect itself later on through society and affect everybody. So this is a very serious matter, and I hope people realize this, that if you ignore the children, at the end there will be a lot of consequences, bad consequences.
The forum will discuss social health of society and to what extent it gets affected by violence from a social perspective, in order to achieve society development and family stability.
What we want to do is to be able to get to the person who's causing the violence and let them know it's not okay anymore. There's going to be consequences if you use violence. And our hope is that if we get to the perpetrator soon enough, he gets a message that, okay, I got to try something else, right? I got to communicate. I don't get to be boss anymore. I don't get to use violence just to get her to do what I want.
The forum aims to develop preventive measures to stop the spread of social health problems through scientific researches and various workshops. The conference gathered the cooperation of Al-Awqaf Public Foundation, Kuwait University, and many social works institutions to discuss core issues of society and health in order to achieve society development and family stability. From Regency Hotel, I am Nurhan Al-Alfi reporting for the English News.
Thank you, Nurhan. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. Before we end, there is a quick reminder of today's headlines. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah leaves the country heading to Germany on a private visit. Operation Resolve Storm enters its second week as Houthi rebels pull out of key positions in the Yemeni city of Aden. Gunmen attack several military checkpoints north of Egypt, Sinai, killing 15 soldiers, with 15 other militants also killed. A suicide bomb targets a protest in Afghanistan's eastern province of Khost, killing 17 people and injuring at least 50 more.